Hello everybody, this is the Rabid Hedgehog, and this is going to be kind of my long-term review of the Harley Davidson Night Rod, my 2015 model that goes by Ray. Ray has been with me now since around April of this year, and she's been nothing but a honey to ride, I have to say that. And yes, how appropriate the Night Rod at night, right? Lovely bike to have, and it's very good weather now, finally. It's hot during the days right now, but at night it's very, very pleasant, so it's good riding weather right now. At any rate, I'm actually leaving the Walterrific mini meetup right now, just to kind of go through what I've been doing and, you know, talking about what this bike has been like to own ever since purchasing it. And I have to say that this is by far my favorite bike that I've ever owned, and I've owned quite a few. I've had some Sportsters, I've had the Ninja 300, I've had a KLR, you know, and I've rode many others, as you guys can tell, but this is by far, I mean, this was a dream bike, and the more I've ridden it, the more I've been in love with this bike even more and more. And now, of course, with it looming that in 2017, this is the last model year for this bike. I know this is a 15, but you know, it's kind of a bummer that Harley is, you know, going to probably stop the production of the Night Rod, which is super sad, because this is by far the best bike they've built. I mean, the maintenance on it is super easy and easy to do. It's surprisingly cheaper to do than the big twins. And it's not quite as cheap as a Sportster, but still pretty close. I mean, the power that's on this bike is phenomenal. I mean, yeah, it's not the fastest bike in the world. It's a 1250 with the performance of, you know, a lot of the 600, 650s that are out there. But, you know, that's not that's not the case. I mean, that you should be really looking at. This thing still has a ton more torque than those and still gets up and goes and can outrun them. I've done it several times and have a blast doing it when people are like, that's a Harley that just did that. It's one of those bikes that just surprises people when they see it. And I was super bummed the other day when I was sitting in a place and I had the bike outside and I had my helmet sit next to me, so everybody knew it was me that was riding it. And they looked at me and they're like, hey, I haven't seen one of those before. Is that what they call that Sportster or Nightster or something like that? I'm like, oh my gosh, people. This is why Harley is canceling them, because nobody paid them the respect that they deserved. Nobody paid the respect. And that's the sad thing. It seriously is so sad that nobody knew that this was the Night Rod. And that's not the first time that's happened to me. I've been at other places, like in a store, and they see that I'm the one carrying the helmet around, and they're like, hey, I saw that bike out there. Is that one yours? I've never seen a Harley like that, you know? Is that thing liquid cooled? I mean, it just boggles their mind when they see it. And I'm sitting there going, I'm depressed, because nobody knows about the greatness that is the Harley Davidson Night Rod. Probably, like I said, the finest bike they've ever built. This is the only bike that I really am just going to keep forever. I mean, other bikes I've killed off real fast, and that's just because of how I am with them, but I didn't like them as much or something. And then this one, I just can't see a problem with it. I love this thing. I mean, there's some super cool things about it that are really nice touches. Like right here, when you look at the, this guy's trying to roll coal on me. What a jerk. Anyway, he's not getting a good job of it, but it's right now. But at any rate, nice touches in the dash panel. It's very visible, as you can see, even at night. Real easy to read on the fly, even when you're going stupid fast. I like how the needles, whenever you get close to the red line on this side, the needle will turn red for you to flash at you and tell you, hey, you hit the red line. And also the gas gauge does the same thing. Once it gets down to that red mark, it actually turns red to tell you that you're actually about to run out of gas. I think that's pretty nifty. It's just little touches like that that go into the Night Rod, such as the styling, just the the way they've tucked in the wires, the way they've blacked out the frame, the way they've done stuff. It's the little touches that make such a big difference to me with this bike. That makes this bike the awesome bike that it is. The look, the feel, the big 240 rear end. I don't think this bike would look right without anything other than that 240 after seeing the older night rods, or V-rods I should say, against it. This thing is just fantastically built, and the way it feels. You know, I've got 2,000 miles on it now, or let's see, 2055. I just broke it earlier today. And I've gone through the first service with it, and that was super easy, and you know, no muss, no fuss to do it. And I mean, it was just easy to get everything done. And it's not quite as complex as the Big Twin. The Big Twin has some things that's unexpected with it, but this one is just basically get your oil change, check out your, you know, fluids, make sure everything's tight, and then you're good to go. Now, unlike your other Harley Davidson engines, this one actually does require the valves to be adjusted eventually at about 15,000 miles. So that's something I'm looking forward to, I guess. But really, it's not too bad of a thing. The one thing that kind of bums it out is it's not going to be easy for the typical everyday person like me to do it. You'd have to have a way to allow you to drop the cradle, basically, which holds the engine. And that way you can get to the head to actually get to the valve train and actually do the valve lash adjustment if it's needed. But I've been told quite a few times that really all they're doing is just doing a check, just to make sure that the you know, that the valves are in place and all that. And if they don't need any adjustment, they're not going to have to do it. And I told very much, well, often even at 15,000 miles, there's no adjustment needed on it, and it's super easy and done quickly. But just the way this thing rides, I mean, right now I actually have my wife on the back. It's impossible to see that. And I know it's nighttime, and a lot of people dog this thing over the light. I have to say that when I first got the bike, I have to admit that the light was terrible. And that's just because I think the way the factory and or the way the dealer puts it together is the problem. They didn't have it adjusted right at all, where I'm looking out and I only have like literally a second and a half of time with my light. And now I've got it fully adjusted. I did it all myself, and on regular mode right now, if I was in pitch black, I would have around 8 to 9 seconds, somewhere in there, of light time between me and the obstacle. And when I hit the brights, I have actually roughly around 15 seconds. So to me, that's perfectly fine. I have plenty of time to see and react. The wide also scatters really well across the roadway, so you can see deep into each side of it. So that way, because of where I live in an area that deer population is more than human. So there's more deer out there prancing around being stupid than there are humans. And I'd like to see them coming, because I do not want to tear up this bike. This is my child. Ray will never go away unless something kills her. But I would still try to bring her back from the dead. And like I said, I have rode a ton of bikes, and there's just something special about this night rod. I just love it. The visibility out of the mirrors, the way it presents itself, and the way everybody talks about it when they actually do get to know it. It is one of the most well-respected bikes that I've ever had. You know, other than my XT gets the children, that's for sure. Little XT loves the children, but the night rod definitely attracts everybody else. Going, what the heck do you have there? And I'd love to hear that thing and see what it does. Thing just runs absolutely smooth. There's no rattles, there's no shakes. The mirrors, as you can see, are absolutely crystal clear on each side. But then again, you do get the counterbalancer like you do in the Milwaukee 8 and some other engines as well, so it gets rid of all the vibrations. I have ridden this thing for 4 hours straight. Yes, it loves gasoline, so it's pretty much, yeah, I was on it for 4 hours pretty much straight, except for those gas stops. This bike is one of those ones you don't expect to get some gas mileage with. I have one time got 42 miles to the gallon, but most of the time, because I cannot keep my wrist, how do you put this, in a nice calm position and steady, I'm always blasting this dumb thing around and getting like 32, 35, 29 was the worst I ever saw. Because I will sit there and be stupid and find open roads and blast up to 130, come back down, blast up again when I clear an obstacle or whatever. You know, just have some fun with the dumb thing. This is a bike that you can do that with. It puts a smile on my face every time I see her. Even though she likes to drink gas. I mean, here we are, I'm almost at a half a tank. 52.8 miles. I have a 5-gallon tank beneath me. A lot of people said it's not truly 5 gallons, I can only get 3.7 in it. I have literally taken this thing, because I did not time it very well, all the way to the bottom. I had to put 4.8 gallons of gas in this thing. I was chugging into that gas station because I was sloshing and running on fumes pretty much. Getting below the pickups, and I know this thing holds 5 gallons. It just likes to drink that 5 gallons rather quickly and turn on its light with around 3.7 to go. So that's the thing, it turns on its light at that time. You still actually have some gas there if you want to use it. So that's the thing about it. It's absolutely just a phenomenal bike to ride. And I know you can't see much of it right now. It's nighttime, and you know, that's all right. That's what this bike is, blacked out and wonderful, and you know, better to ride in the time right now. Things I've noticed since I've had it for a long time: when you're in riding position, what are you doing, dude? And say it gets a little bit on the hot side, like it does here in Oklahoma throughout the summer, and you're sitting at a traffic light, and this thing kicks its fan on. Oh my gosh, it's hot. It is very toasty on both legs to sit there at a stoplight. It'll just burn you to death. But when you're in riding configuration and moving down the road like this, it does not blow off any heat at all. It does a fantastic job of keeping that away from the rider, despite the rear cylinder being right next to your knees there. It does a very good job at staying cool. The passenger seat on it, my wife actually likes it more than some of the other bikes, especially more than the Ninja I used to have. She says she gets about an hour and a half out of it before she gets tired. And we've used it quite a bit for 2-up riding. It's actually not a bad bike to do 2-up riding with. I don't really plan on putting the sissy bar on it, and I don't plan on really upgrading the seat, because she does have her own bike. And the only time she really rides with me is special events or something where we're both going and we're riding around in traffic that's crazy and harebrained like what we're doing right now. She's not much for the traffic, and I understand that. She's on a smaller bike. She's only got 652 cc's. She's only a single cylinder, and her max speed is 90. And I've got a max speed of about 145, and I've seen it, so I know it will do it. So, you know, and I can get around cars a lot easier. If something happens, I can bust it out and get going, and not a problem. So, bigger presence on the road too than the Suzuki she has. But, you know, when she does ride with me, she really enjoys it. One thing she does kind of hate is sometimes I'll just plow it under on the throttle and make her fly off the back almost. She doesn't like that kind of thrill. But it makes me laugh a little bit. But that's the thing, this whole bike is like that. It allows you to have fun. It allows you to play. And it's got one of the best turning radiuses and turning angles and stuff of Harley, despite the fact of the rear tire being as big. And like I said in the initial ride of it, when I took it up to Highway 77, you know, and around Skeleton Creek is what they call it, you know, this thing turns and turns and turns and turns and turns very, very well. All those complaints about it not wanting to turn, the only time I might see that is maybe parking lot maneuvers, because the steering head doesn't move that much. But I mean, when you're on the road, it doesn't have a problem at all. You have 32 degrees of angle on each side, and yeah, that's not sport bike whatsoever, but for a Harley, that's pretty darn good. And it turns every bit of those, and I always hit those little lean indicators just playing around. So like I said, best dadgum bike Harley's ever made. I'm going to be sad to see them stop production, but I'm glad I own the one I have, because this is by far my favorite bike I've ridden still. And I've been on a ton, you know. And like I said, I might have said that about some of the other bikes, but those are bikes I've reviewed, the favorite bikes ridden. This is the bike that tops them all, though. Like I said, a dream ever since they came out in 01 to own the V-Rod series. Finally got to see it come to fruition earlier this year after winning the street and doing some swapping and finagling and stuff like that in the garage and selling things so I could do it, because I saw the opportunity, got everything sold that needed to be sold and sold the right way, and wound up with this wonderful bike, and I'm never going to regret it, that's for sure. I'll never regret it. At any rate, this is the Rabid Hedgehog. If you have any more questions about the Harley Davidson Night Rod, please feel free to put those in the comments below, and I'll be happy to talk to you about it. And I know I met a lot of Okie guys out there tonight, and I definitely would try to get you guys linked and everything, so that way we can try to come together as a community and grow the Oklahoma moto vlogging groups. And hopefully we can do some meetups of our own someday. At any rate, have a great one. Keep the shiny side up. I'll holler at you later.